That warm welcome and for the opportunity to, like you said, to share the wonderful same philosophies with your fantastic firm. I give you tremendous credit for offering this to all your clients. I am extremely grateful. We're going to talk about gratitude. I am extremely grateful to have this opportunity to share skills with you guys, to give you tools and tips to help you have more joy and fulfillment, and to decrease the stress and overwhelm that you may be going through in this moment. But I promise you, this moment will pass. And these are going to be tips to help you have ease of what you're going through while you're going through this. So please know my intention today in the discussion on gratitude is to impart knowledge to you that helps this challenging time feel less challenging, and actually to invite joy in, because that's what gratitude does. Is it actually gets rid of the negative feelings. They tend to fade away, and it invites things like joy, fulfillment into your life at a time that may be challenging in this exact moment that you're on. And it's wonderful to talk about this stuff as we go into the holidays, and we have Thanksgiving coming up and Christmas and Hanukkah and all the various holidays where you'll be spending time with family. I'm going to give you some suggestions, some tips on how you can make those family get-togethers even more special and meaningful. Truly meaningful moments. So again, my intention is to impart knowledge to you, and I want to start by congratulating you guys. You're all on here, whether you're listening to it live now or you're listening to the recording later. Hats off to you, because you are learning skills. You're wanting to turn into the best version of yourself. And that's something I always want to help people do. So it's exciting to me. So, congratulations for being here, for working on whatever you're working on, and using such a phenomenal firm to help you accomplish the legal goals. It's my desire to help you do it with more ease and a lighter heart. So, you're in the right place if that's what you want, is more of a warmth of heart that we often long for. This all can be yours. There is a saying that stuck out to me that I want to share with you. I'm just going to do the share on the screen here. One second. Um, it's from a book called Attitudes of Gratitude by MJ Ryan. And she talks about, as you can see on your screen, that gratitude is like a flashlight. If you go out in your yard at night and you turn on a flashlight, you suddenly can see what's there. It was always there, but you couldn't see it in the dark. So, my hope today, my goal is to help you turn on that flashlight to illuminate what is good in your life and see, by the way, it's all there right now. It's just sometimes when we're going through something challenging, it's a little harder to see that. So, what happens is when you change the focus, you actually change what you feel and your experience of life. So, I wanted to bring up this quote for you. Gratitude, turning on that flashlight, is one of the quickest ways to start transforming from the negative to the positive. You start to shine. You turn on that flashlight. So think of the flashlight and then think about the light that you create as you're shining brightly like that. You want to switch over. She also tells us gratitude is an inner light that we can use to illuminate our souls. The more we are thankful, the more light we experience, and the more we shine forth into the world. I think this is extremely true. So I want to help you shine those lights. Stop sharing it one moment. I want to help you shine that inner light, because as we do that, we start to attract all the good things that you might be missing in this moment as you go through challenges. The more you feel that joy, you give off a totally different energy. Have you ever been around someone that's just in a terrible, like negative state, and you feel for them because they're going through it? But what happens is it actually invites more of that negativity towards them. So when you move into a state of gratitude, you instantly are focused on what's right in your life. And this is important. What we focus on, we actually feel. So if you're focusing on what's missing, you're going to feel sadness. You're going to, my shoulders go down. You just have that sort of that feeling that's just not as positive. And as soon as you start to focus on what's right in your life, you feel grateful. And you actually end up with more reasons to feel grateful because you're attracting that into your life. So what you focus on, you feel. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. So this is an opportunity to start thinking about, okay, what is right in my life? What do I feel grateful for? And we all have so many things that are going on beautifully in our lives that we do know is right. Some days you just have to turn on a little light flashlight in order to feel grateful. And there's other days we've all experienced where maybe you need those huge, gigantic lights that they put by the side of the road to build roads at night. Those gigantic things. But whatever level of flashlight you need to turn on, or those gigantic road lights, I encourage you to start letting that light come out, shine on the things that are going right in your life, and you yourself will start to illuminate. And that's why I wanted to show you both those quotes. You're creating your next chapter. You're going through something right now, whether that's divorce, widowhood, change in custody. You're going through something that involves some grieving. It's the end of one chapter and it's the start of a new chapter. And boy, that new chapter is going to be so much better than you can even imagine right now. That's why you've hired such a great law firm in order to fight on your behalf and give you the opportunity to create that next future chapter that is going to be fantastic. When we're going through a challenge like that, we often feel like, oh gosh, how can it turn out well? And I'm telling you that if you look back I encourage you to do this, to think back on your greatest growth periods in life when you started those big chapters. And I bet that the majority of those came from some of the hardest, most challenging times in your life. So again, I'm going to let that sink in a moment. Our most challenging times lead to our greatest growth. And then we have the gratitude, the fulfillment of knowing, wow, we have turned into that next most amazing version of ourselves. And as Sheila mentioned, I love helping clients, personally and professionally, closing that gap. My hands automatically go up, closing that gap from where you are right now, personally and professionally, and where you want to be. And as you start to close that gap, it's just glorious. And one of the ways that helps you do that is to look at this challenging time and realize that there are tremendous gifts in it. I was talking with a client last week. She's a remarkable young woman in her young 30s, and she lost her mom the week she was graduating from high school, very unexpectedly. And it was interesting. I was talking to this client and I asked her, I said, what have been the peak points in your life? And when I talk about peak points in people's lives, they'll usually like, oh, you mean like the easiest times? And I go, no, peak, that you look back and you go, that was one of the best times for my growth, for who I am as a person. And instantly she said, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but actually it was my mother's passing. She goes, and she adored her mother. I actually have known her since she was in high school, adored her mother. She said she found a strength within her when her mother passed that she had no idea she had. And I know that each of you have that kind of strength within you. She learned to be more mature. She learned to be more independent. She had no idea that she could actually work hard and pay and put herself through college. If her mother had been alive, her mother would have paid for all those things and done that. So oftentimes with this challenge, with this change, comes so many gifts that are going to emerge. And part of them emerging and us seeing them is having the right mind frame. And I'm going to give you all types of tools at the end as to how you get there. But I just want to talk about first, like, why do we even talk about gratitude? And what gratitude does is it invites joy, it gives us joy. And many of you have probably heard of Brene Brown. She's so well known for her research on shame and vulnerability that leads to connection. Before she was a great speaker, she always says she's an accidental speaker from her TED Talk. She was a tremendous researcher. And one of her longer studies was her research on gratitude. So she, and I want to make sure I get this correct, I think it's 11,000 people that yes, she interviewed 11,000 people over 12 years. And she found something interesting. And before I tell you what she found, I'm going to back up a moment and tell you what she thought she was going to find. Her premise, her thesis going into the study was that when people everything's going right in their life and they have so much joy, then they experience gratitude. Then they start to practice gratitude practices and they're happy. And you know what happened? Without exception. So again, 11,000 people over 12 years, she found the exact opposite. It was the people that oftentimes were going through the hardest times, but they had a gratitude practice that they did every day that became joyful. So what she ended up saying after the study, to her surprise, is that when you're grateful, that's what leads to joy. It's not joy that leads to gratitude. So you can have the hardest time going on in your life, and you end up with the most grateful, warm, happy feeling. And it's interesting, as I read this study the first time many years ago, I started to think back, and I love being a mother and actually a grandmother to 3 young grandchildren. I'm loving. So to remind them, here comes loving. And so with that connection to family that I'm sure many of you feel as you're on here, and is the reason that you've hired this phenomenal firm. Um, my youngest daughter, who now recently turned 30, we were going to the car wash, something so simple. And my car had gone in, and I could look in my rearview mirror and I could see her sort of flailing around. I thought, "Ah, she has a terrible fear of bees." And I thought there must have been a bee that got in the car. And I see someone trying to help her. And to my surprise, actually, she had had a grand mal seizure. And I remember thinking, God, I could cry. I think that is worth 12 minutes, honestly. Like my life. She's on the ground and they're trying to bring her to, and the ambulance is on its way, trying to wake up my other children, trying to call everyone in the world. And I'm over here and I'm praying and I'm talking. And she finally comes to, and doesn't, she doesn't know her own name. She doesn't know mine for a moment. She can't connect. And within a few moments of that happening, all of a sudden the brain starts reconnecting, everything starts going, and she's ambulance comes and they get her into the ambulance, and my daughter started to come back. And I could see her, I could hear it because she has unusual veins, and they were trying to find the vein. That still makes me smile to think about it, because she goes from not being able to say my name to I can hear her say, "No, no, my veins to the right of center." And I thought, she's back. She's here. So we go through sometimes our worst fears, and they make us appreciate what's there every single day. So my daughter was there every single day, but when there was a huge fear of losing her in that moment, it opened up what we can try to feel every single day. I don't want to say what should feel, it's up to you what you choose to feel every single day. We got to the hospital, and they got in the IV in, thanks to her telling them about her unusual vein. And humor was one of the things that helped. So I encourage you during this challenge in your life to invite some humor in. So here we are. I've woken up my 2 other children. Everyone's joined us at the hospital. My oldest daughter is usually so put together. Not that I'm biased, but she's stunning and very well put together. And she comes in and she's got her glasses on instead of her contact, and her hair's up in a bun. And I mean, she looks a mess. As of course, I just woke her up out of bed, and her sisters had a seizure, and she's in the middle of trying to talk, and she also has asthma. So she's in the middle talking and she goes, "Oh my God, what a week. You know, my husband, her husband's a football player, the team had dropped him. My husband's lost his job. My sister's had a seizure." And you see her take this inhaler, and all of a sudden we all broke out laughing. It was like, what humor can you find in the craziest of situations? And she started to laugh. And then you know what? It was easier for her to breathe. And as we do this, as we invite humor in, as you surround yourself with love. So I was in that room and I could have said, "What's wrong? Like, was there brain damage?" Which thank God I'll fast forward and tell you there wasn't. What happened? Will she ever see us again? There's a million thoughts that I could have focused on that would have been extremely negative and would have brought my energy and my state down further. But I looked around and I was like, boy, I have my favorite people in the whole world, my children, all in this room together. We're all hugging each other and holding each other and laughing, thanks to my oldest, and we're supporting each other. And when you do that, when you focus on that positive feeling, it just emanates. And I am telling you, it made Nicole, my youngest, healthier and happier. And I believe her healing was quicker. And I know for all of us, we stayed at a higher energy state, which gave us the energy to help her heal. Because after your body goes through something like that, um, she slept for a long, long time. Her body was exhausted. Took us a while to find out. It turned out it was an allergic reaction to an antibiotic. She had just started college and she went to the infirmary and they'd given her something related to an antibiotic that it turns out she's allergic to. So, what a way to learn. But my point in saying this is you're going through something possibly right now that could feel as bad to you as those 12 minutes felt to me when my daughter was on the ground and I didn't know what life was going to look like moving forward. Was she going to be okay? What were we going to have to do? You know, you wish for your kids everything in the world. And I think we walked away with probably more gratitude than I ever had. And I start with a lot, but boy, you know, she came home and she was sleeping, and the two other siblings and I were looking at each other, and they had recently bought me, because it actually was this time of year, it was getting closer to Thanksgiving, a towel that said, "There is always, always, always a reason to be grateful." And that's what I want you all to remember, is there always is. So look for the humor, look for what's right in those moments, look for the love, look for the support, reach out to those people. Reach out to your friends that can support you, reach out to support groups. Please feel free to reach out to me. I have so many coaching tools that help you regain that joy and happiness that in this particular moment may be a little dimmer. So we'll get that flashlight going and have you have experiencing so much more joy. So you're going through something now in the midst of the challenge, like, what is right in your life? Think about it. I know it might be the last word that comes to mind, but how can you make this more fun? I remember hearing that when I was going through coaching school many, many years ago, and it had stuck with me. And when my oldest was getting married, there were moments of bridezilla. And, you know, here's this happy, joyful child, just you can't believe it. And so fun was the last word that was coming to mind. But what I ended up saying to her is, how can we make this more fun? You can depend on me no matter what, but how can we make this more fun? And again, you know, we're not thinking fun. She's grumbling, I'm grumbling, but we both started to suggest things that would make it more fun. And through that interaction, we created more joy. The wedding was happier than we could have imagined. And leading up to it was so much more fun. So even though the word might feel foreign as you deal with this particular challenge, I encourage you to think about what can be fun. What can you do? I encourage you to communicate what you're grateful for. So if you're grateful for your team at work, if you're grateful for your children, if you're grateful for your friends, tell them. Share that, because as we start to share those kinds of things, we build connection. And we all have a longing for connection. Gratitude, by the way, connects you with the whole world. If you have a team at work that you want to feel closer with, that you want to perform better, Tell them what you appreciate about them. The more specific you are, the more they believe it and feel seen and heard and respond accordingly. Everyone has a gratitude language, just like a love language. So learn what your kid's gratitude language is, or learn what your teammates or subordinates' language is. Is it quality time with you? So if so, and you're trying to get a team going at work, maybe the one that meets this goal gets a special lunch for you two alone. Or if education is their gratitude language or their value growth, maybe send them to a seminar. There are so many ways we can express gratitude, and the more we do, the more people connect and they stay. So there actually are all kinds of studies on this that I won't get into now, but there is less turnover when sincere gratitude is shown. Um, so that's turnover at work. Think about what it does for your friendships, for your relationships with your kids. As you go through challenges, there are ways to connect with your children stronger than you could ever imagine, ever. By the way, I am divorced as well. And I have raised my three children pretty much all on, my own. Things are much better now with their father, and I'm happy to say, but that's almost 20 years later. There are, so I say from experience, there are so many ways that you can, with gratitude, build a relationship that's stronger than you could ever imagine. You might be grieving if you're going through divorce, exactly how you thought life was going to look. It's going to be even better. And I love helping people co-create that. So please know that when I, talk about gratitude, I'm not just talking about on the easiest times, the best of times. It's a choice you make each and every day. I think of a client that came to me a few years ago and she said, "Oh, Jill, like, how can you help me? I have hard times in my life. Your life is perfect." And I remember, asking her what made her think my life was perfect. And she said, "Well, you're always happy. You're always smiling. You're always." And what I chose to share with her in that moment is that my happiness is a choice. I actually had many challenges growing up. My mother had a disease called lupus, which took her at 55 years young. My best friend in the whole world. As a result, I learned to start giving her shots around 6, 7 years old because at that time they thought all kinds of different things helped. So I tried, and then I would get in an oxygen tent with my brother, my adopted brother, because he had breathing problems. I've lost a sibling to suicide. There are so many things that I could choose to focus on because, again, we focus on what we focus on, we feel. And she ended up saying, "Oh my goodness, I had no idea. I'm so sorry." And as you listen to this, you might think, wait, am I on the day about gratitude? But my point is that you can find gratitude in the worst of situations, not just in the easiest, just like Brene Brown found with the 11,000 people that she studied. It's, I encourage you, I invite you to find that. Meanwhile, that client ended up hiring me. She ended up sharing what she thought I couldn't relate to at the time, sound very differently. Her child was cutting herself a lot. Her marriage was very unhappy. And you know what? Through coaching exercises and through focusing, learning her core values, learning what really lights her up, what really makes her happy, we were able to get her daughter help. She completely stopped cutting. Her daughter actually was extremely successful now, has graduated Georgia Tech. And she realizes that she did not want to stay in that marriage. And you know what? She is happier than I've ever seen her. So I say all this to say, yes, in the most challenging times, you can have tremendous gratitude. And gratitude, gratefulness, I want to show you a slide so that you see this. I'm sorry. Where are we? Okay, taking one moment to bring this up. Here we are. Gratefulness, if you break it down, I don't know why it's doing, is the word great. It's great and it's fullness. It will fill you up. So when you think about gratitude and you think about gratefulness, think about how great you're going to feel, how full you're going to feel. Jesuit priests, and this comes from that study I mentioned with Brene Brown, it's not joy that makes us grateful, it's gratitude that makes us joyful. So start bringing that gratitude in there and you'll be happy. She talked about Brene Brown talked about we're a nation hungry for more joy because we're starving from a lack of gratitude. I want you guys to not be hungry, not be starving, but to feel full and great and fantastic. I'm going to take you through a meditation to encourage some of that gratitude and make us connect. I'm sure many of you have had busy mornings. I'm so glad you could join us here at lunchtime. And this is your opportunity to slow down, to close your eyes, to relax. Your mind may wander a little bit. Try to focus on your breathing, try to hear my words and come back so that you can experience all of this. And when it's done, when I'm finished, I will tell you, and now you can open your eyes. So I may intentionally leave pauses. Go ahead and keep your eyes shut and experience it. I am going to intentionally turn off the video so that instead of focusing on my face, if your eyes are open, you focus on my voice. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that video off. Sit comfortably. And as you sit in your chair and start to relax, dropping your chin, pulling your neck back so it's in alignment with your spine, closing your eyes gently, placing your palms facing upwards to receive all the energy that's around you, within you, and supporting you. Begin your practice by connecting to your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Continue to allow your breath to deepen with every inhale and every exhale, allowing your body to recalibrate to its natural state. Your energy can reorganize, your mind can wander, your thoughts can shift naturally, your nervous system can calm down. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, feeling that stress leaving your body. As you continue to breathe, give yourself permission to dream. Give yourself permission to be in the wonder of all that you're able to create, all that you're able to receive: happiness, health, abundance, gratitude, joy. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Accepting in this moment that everything you need is already with you. Everything you long for, everything you wish for, everything you hope to manifest is already here right now. Everything in this moment, as perfect as it unfolds naturally. Breathe in, breathe out. Settle into the space and know that you are held, protected, and supported. Ask yourself, what am I grateful for? Take a moment and think about, what are you grateful for? It could be something right now, something from your past. What do I feel grateful for? Relax your legs, and as you do, thank them for working so well in carrying you where you need to go. Breathe in, breathe out. Relax your arms, your hands, your fingers, and feel the gratitude that comes from them being able to hug and hold the people and the pets near and dear to your heart. Breathe in, breathe out. Relax your neck and your shoulders and thank them for carrying your head, your brain, your wonderful ideas. Relax your eyes and ponder how fortunate you are to be able to see the things and people that make you happiest. Think of the sights and the sounds that warm your heart. Breathe in, breathe out. Now visualize your heart as a delicate treasure, hand blown from the rarest ethereal glass. A treasure valuable beyond imagining, fragile, irreplaceable, priceless, and ancient. There is no other like it, infinitely precious, existing before time and after infinity. In reality, We were entrusted with such an inexplicable treasure when we were given the gift of life. With your eyes closed, very gently put your hands over your heart. That's it, with your hand on your heart, and allow your breath to tenderly flow in and out of it. When you feel ready, ask to be given a symbol for your heart. Hold that symbol that you see as a sense as carefully as you would a priceless Fabergé egg or a rare and very valuable piece of crystal. Beholding the wonder of your symbol, allow gratitude to flow through you, permeating the very cells of your being. Make a commitment with yourself to cherish and appreciate your heart, yourself, your being, your life. You have so many splendid qualities. What are the resources, the strengths, the talents that you are grateful for? Breathe in, breathe out. Take a few minutes and reflect on a happy moment in your life that stands out for you. Even if it happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago, experience it again. See the scene, hear the sounds that were going on around you, feel the sensations. What was it about that moment that stays with you? What was going on for you that allowed you to feel grateful? And how can you bring this feeling, that feeling, into this Thanksgiving or your upcoming December holidays and into your everyday life? Ponder this for a moment. Let your heart swell with appreciation for what you have and what will give you the most joy this holiday season and every day. Gratitude is the memory of the heart. Therefore, forget not to say often, I have all that I have ever enjoyed. It is within me, and I am grateful. Breathe in, breathe out. You now have the clarity to start bringing what you need to this hectic time in your life. Gratitude. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes. And if you want to take a note on what you should remember most, feel free to do so. Hope that was relaxing for you, and come back and listen to it as many times as you need to. I give Sheila credit for recording these things so that it's another tool from their fantastic firm that's available for you. Um, I know we're probably close to time. I'm going to mention a few things that you may want to try to avoid. Things that kill gratitude are expectations and comparison. So if you expect something huge, so your boss or your family member, your friend could be giving you so much and you actually miss out on the grateful feeling because you may have expected something else. So if you come into it with more an open feeling, you'll actually appreciate what is given to you. And comparison totally robs us of the joy of gratitude because if we compare, we lose that feeling. There are so many phenomenal tips that I can give you. I'll see if we have any questions. I'll see what kinds of time we have left after the questions. But please know I am here for you. I am a resource. Anyone that listens to this, whether it's live or recorded down the road, I am glad to give a 30-minute complimentary coaching session. You can always reach out to me at Jill, Jill, at Thrive dash, gotta have that hyphen sound, symbol, unlimited.com. And I'm glad to support you. I want you to feel that fullness this holiday season. Are there questions, Sheila?
I have been jotting down a few questions, and I invite our participants at this time to ask questions. A lot of we serve families. Very often we're serving families with minor children.
Mhm.
Jill, in your own experience and practice, are there things that we can do as parents to teach our children to live with and tap into gratitude as a resource for them? How do we do that? How do we help them do that?
Phenomenal question, and what a great goal. A few different things are coming to mind. Daily, I grew up where we all sat down for dinner. There were pretty much no excuses. It didn't matter how much homework you had, how many things you had to do, you're going to sit to dinner first, and then you could go out and do your other plans. And I encourage that. So whether it's dinner or it's some other set time that you're truly sitting as a family, I encourage you to get together and, whether it's daily or it's a few times a week, ask your children what's going really well in your life right now. What are you appreciative of? What are you happy about? What went right today? And as you start to do that, you start training them to start looking for what is right in their lives, which, as people do that, they experience gratitude. So if you can give that to your children at a really young age, you're doing a huge favor for them. Um, Another thing is for you to express what you are grateful for in your own life, and very much so what you appreciate in your child. Um, I do it with my granddaughters now. I'll tell them, boy, I really appreciate how helpful you are. They love to help me cook. I really appreciate it. And I'll tell each of them, and the more specific you are, again, the more they feel seen and heard. So get specific. Did one help you with the dishes? Did one help you with cooking? Point out things, talents that they have. We tend to think what we do well comes so naturally that we don't think about it sometimes with gratitude. And when you, as a parent, Sheila, or anyone listening, tell your kids, wow, that gift you have of, and whatever it is, it makes them start to realize, wow, actually, I should feel some gratitude for that. At Thanksgiving, so I was talking about more in general every day. At Thanksgiving, my family, and for years we've done this. We go around the table and we talk about what we really, really appreciate about each other all the time. And this could take an hour. I mean, we all go ahead, and the kids are all older. We'll get a glass of wine and sit and really talk about that. And it's funny, when I first did it when they were young, they were like, "Oh, eyes rolled," they look. And I found, like, after college and they were working, they were asking me to do it even a day early, like, they come along that. Does that help you with some suggestions?
I like those suggestions. And we share a holiday tradition. Our tradition before the Thanksgiving meal is to go around the table and express that for what we are thankful at
Oh,
Thanksgiving. So that's really fun to hear. I will share something that I used to do with my children, you can tell me, oh, but I think it was a good thing. Um,
uh,
you know how when you tell your children no
mhm,
about something. No,
yes.
you can't stay out past curfew, or no, you can't have that pair of tennis shoes I just bought you one. I mean, whenever you have to say no, what I would often hear is, you never do anything for me, right? And so my response was, you know what? I want you to sit down and make a list of 50 things that you remember I've done for you. And when you're done, then you can move on with the rest of your day. But everything stops right now until you make that list.
Oh,
And it occurred to me that that's kind of like, I'm not going to let that negativity, nothing's done for me, nothing goes right. I'm going to get this child to focus on, all the things that they have been allowed to do or that they do have. And I never thought of that as a gratitude exercise, but it sort of is a gratitude exercise.
It very much is. I love that. That is great because you totally took their focus from limiting like what's missing to everything they have. Everything, what I've seen some families do too is like have a gratitude jar. And every time a parent or a child or someone who thinks of something they're grateful for, they can either write it on a piece of paper and put it in the jar, or sometimes I'll see someone keep marbles or something nearby and they just drop it in. So they don't even have to take the time to write it if they want. And they see this jar just fill up, and it's that visual reminder of all that we're grateful for. When you think, I mentioned kids, another thing I used to always do, and I encourage people to, is I always wrote love notes to my kids I made lunch every single day. And so I put in a little love note of, how great how wonderful how smart they are. They're going to do great on their tests, how athletic they are. They're going to do, fantastic job cheerleading today. Remind them, that they're loved and they're adored and they're appreciated. And you'll find you get that in return as well.
Yeah. Um, Very good. And ways to attend to and appreciate others, and then they kind of incorporate that into their own. It's like you're modeling it for them. You're modeling being grateful and appreciating. Yes. We do have one of our participants asks,
Yeah.
what can I do? This sounds like a very practical, what practice can I engage in? What can I do when I am feeling overwhelmed and I am only focusing on the negative things in my life? Like, what are some practices, routines, reflections? What are your tips and tricks? How do you make the switch?
That's a very good question, and I feel for you, the participant that's feeling that right now. Um, First of all, forgive yourself for feeling it because we all have those moments. We're human and things add up. Ways to change our state are to start thinking about what are the words I'm using. So I encourage you to start thinking about what are the words that you are saying to yourself as you describe this situation that feels overwhelming. Um, and then I would just recognize, okay, those are the words. And then ask yourself, could I have different vocabulary to describe this? Could I have a different outlook? And you're not going to jump from overwhelmed to happy, happy in one jump, but this is called the choose again method, where what you might do is change a little bit. So you might go from everything is horrendous to this particular thing is hard to deal with. And then recognize again, what am I feeling? By the way, when you're recognizing what you're feeling, you can't berate yourself or it does not work. If you just recognize it, no judgment. Okay, is there another way I could look at this? Is there a different vocabulary I could put around it? And as you do that, maybe do it 3 or 4 times, you'll find you'll start to slowly pull yourself out. The vocabulary and the meaning that we give things changes our experience of life, changes our state. And when we change our state, we can move into gratitude. And the previous talk I gave last year actually was on this. So I don't know if you want to make a note for people of where they can go find that. But that was, I think it was called Five to Thrive. And it's about this that, get up, move. So if you're feeling really overwhelmed, you're feeling all this, anxiety, tension, move. First of all, get up. Like don't slouch. That's when we want to like sleep or sit in the chair. So go run. And if you don't have the time to run, maybe just walk, maybe do a few jumping jacks in place, maybe do a power pose where you feel strong and invincible. But move, check your vocabulary, check the meaning you're giving it. So changing one word and meaning changes everything. So is life happening to you or is life happening for you? If life's happening for you, even the hardest lessons actually are really gifts And I know gift may not be the word you're thinking of right now. Additionally, please feel free to reach out because there are about 7 to 10 anxiety reducing tools and techniques that I could show you. And we could do that over Zoom and they will reduce stress. We could do a whole session just on that another time, but those would be helpful as well. So please feel free to reach out. And again, that'd be complimentary and I'll help you with that.
So Jill, as I listen to you, one of the things that I hear is the relationship between gratitude and resilience.
Yes.
And so, I hear you saying, uh, pause and sit with your feelings,
Mhm.
not ignore them. And I think that, if I were to fault my technique as a parent with my child from the you never do anything with me to go make a list of, 25 things I've done for you, it would be to maybe insert, this makes you feel bad. What are you feeling as a result? So that there is that examination of the feeling state, not a stuffing, or an ignoring of the feeling state, but a recognition and a naming. And then a transition to, where do I put this feeling about this situation in relationship to all the rest and the feelings that I had. But do you have all of that's part
Very,
of being resilient. Do you have some other thoughts about the relationship between gratitude and resilience?
very, very good point. I love what you said. Yeah, it's absolutely true. I think if you were a way to help people realize this, because there is absolutely a relationship, is if you guys think back to some of your hardest times in your life where you felt like you had that feeling, maybe the same feeling, maybe the feeling was overwhelmed, maybe it was some anxiety, maybe it was sadness, it was maybe not knowing what was next. Whatever you want to name it, as Sheila mentioned, think back, because chances are this isn't the first time you felt this. Think back to a point in your life and then think about what helped you be resilient. What helped you pull yourself out of it? How did you recover? Because we each have certain things that work for us and they're tied to our core values. So usually I'd be doing this one on one with someone and I would know their core values so I could help pull them out and move into resilience. But if you just sit back and think in your life, like, what are some things that have worked before? When you've had something, it may not have been as difficult as this, but it had touches of it. How did you find resiliency? And I would guess that in addition to whether it's exercise, prayer, being around friends, whatever it is, that there was some gratitude involved. At some point, you felt appreciative. And when you do, and actually, you have to feel gratitude. Actually, I'm glad this. Some people just make a gratitude list, and then it's just like another thing to do every day. Write down 3 things. I want you to feel, I'm going to put my hand over my heart. I want you to close your eyes and feel the gratitude that you have for the people, for the pets, for, different things in your life that give you joy. Because when you're really feeling it, and that's why in the meditation, you probably heard me, talk about that. Who was around you? What were the sensations? When you start to visualize and remember and feel gratitude, the negative feelings will start to fade away, including that overwhelmed feeling that the client mentioned. Um, Reframing things. I know, when I went through my divorce, there were moments where it was like, oh, it could be filled with so much anger and so much frustration. And then in the end, I was like, boy, you know, I have the 3 greatest children in the world, in my opinion, as we all have, thanks to that marriage. And so you can choose to look at it with some regret and frustration, or you can look at it with the gifts that it gave you. And my life is full with my children. Um, Perspective affects our feelings, our focus affects our feelings, and our feelings affect our entire life. So I encourage you to start feeling gratitude, those of you listening.
All right, Jill, I thank you so much for your message today. Like I said, we are most often working with clients who are facing challenges, crisis in their personal lives, and it's impacting, every aspect of their personal and professional selves. And so I think this message is a very useful tool and perspective that they can integrate. One of the things that we do now for our clients who are going through divorce is we send them a book during their onboarding process, The Power of TED, and it's about co-creating the life that you want, and not being in a state of victimhood in response to those events in your life. But the other thing that we send them inside is the feelings wheel. And so I just want to remind our clients, and you can find it online, it's a fabulous tool. And sometimes just focusing on naming the feelings puts the feeling into perspective. It's so interesting. So often we talk in terms of I'm either happy or unhappy. We don't go through all the range of feelings that we're experiencing. And when you put them in place, you'll see, oh, there are bigger feelings. This could be worse.
Oh,
And so
yes.
yeah, having that perspective, it's like, oh, I'm embarrassed, but I'm not humiliated,
No,
and there's a difference.
exactly.
And when
Oh,
you lay that word on it, it's like, oh, well, yes, I'm embarrassed, but I'm not humiliated, I'm not ashamed, I mean, you can just begin to and it's just engages a part of your brain that helps you put the feelings into perspective and then respond productively and creatively to those feelings. So I really appreciate your focus on that. And I remind our clients about that as a resource that we send to them. Our employees all have it as part of their onboarding process because that emotional intelligence is as important in moving through family law conflict as the amazing attorneys that we have setting legal strategy. So,
absolutely. We're so aligned. I give you a lot of credit for encouraging that and getting people. And I want you guys to realize you are so much more than even what you feel in this one moment. Maybe close your eyes and listen to music that relaxes you and start to envision. You might not be able to see it yet, but a future you'd like. You may not know how it's going to happen yet, but it will with the help of Sheila and her husband and all the phenomenal lawyers here. Start to envision what would be fabulous because when you do that, you're drawn towards that future instead of looking at, Tony Robbins talks about, and I'll just close with this. You can't move forward and do great in your life when you can't drive forward looking in the rearview mirror. There's a reason the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror.
yep,
Look ahead.
yep, yep. Very good point. And after 30 years of work serving families, we are in relationship with people, who have moved through and their minor children are now their adult children and they now have grandchildren. And it's just wonderful to stay connected and reconnect and know, that they made it through those most difficult times and with tools like the ones you shared today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.